kind of leads to this discussion about luck and what role luck plays. And I think that this is a good thing to talk about kind of in a little bit of depth as far as reselling, like what role does luck play? And so one of the things that I think you're right, it is Arcad. One of the things that Arcad explains here is he starts to ask other people, like, how many of you have had the same experience where you found a good fortune of money just sitting on the side of the road that's free for the taking, and nobody else raises their hand, right? And he goes on to try and find other examples. Well, how many people do you know that have their success because of just random luck, maybe gambling? Like they've gone and they've bet enough times on the dog races or whatever.
I think we saw plenty of non-luck at eBay open with that one.
Yeah, that we did for sure.
All right, keep going.
And so anyways, the story kind of just comes along with multiple examples of this idea that luck isn't something that comes to people who wait around and just by chance. In fact, he kind of explains, like, gambling is a good example. If you're just betting on the roll of a dice, you might win 1 out of 7 times, but you're going to lose 6 out of 7. And odds on every game are different, but the odds are always going to be in the house's favor, right? The odds are never in your favor when you're always. I mean, that's why those casinos are built, right? And so, yeah, you might have people who can say, like, hey, I won. Like, I have a friend who's obsessed with gambling and is very convinced that, like, they're just lucky and they're way ahead. But when I start to talk to them, it's like they'll tell me a story like, yeah, I won $7,000 last time I went to Vegas or last time. And it's like, wow, that's really cool. But then when you start really digging in, it's like, well, yeah, but the time before I lost 4,000 and the time before that I only lost 3, but I made 4 the time before that. And you start to add it all up and you come out below, right? And there will be 1 out of 1,000 or 100 or whatever that comes out ahead, but it doesn't seem to be odds in your favor. Whereas the idea that comes here with the goddess of luck is it's better to work and have opportunities come to you. That luck is more of when you're working and you're diligent, opportunities kind of show up. And if you're willing to jump and act on those opportunities, then you become fortunate. It's fortune when you're working and things happen. So do you have any examples like in reselling where you're working really hard and like doors open up because of that?
No, it's 100%. It's all the time. I mean, I think, yeah. Do I think there's a possibility for luck? Sure. I think the odds are very opposed to that in the sense like you're not going to walk into, the store that shall not be named and find, like that person. And I think this was in the news 2 years ago. They found some nautical watch from like the 40s or 50s that was worth like $50K or something. Like, or somebody that one time they picked up a sweater that Vince Lombardi owned and they were watching a TV commercial one day and they're like, wait, we have that sweater. Like chances of that are pretty rare, right? But the chances of, it happens to me all the time where, for every, 100 business cards I give out, it's those 2 or 3 phone calls that I get that, end up being those major bulk buys that I end up making, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I've had even bigger ones, right? But luck had really nothing to do with it. It's being consistently out there and saying, hey, my name's Orlando. I resell. If you want to get rid of all the stuff at one shot, I'm here for you. I'm willing to pay, a decent price, and that helps. Or the person that's going to garage, we talk about garage sales, right? Every Saturday, you've had some major scores. I'm looking at your Department 56 score, right? But that's, that wasn't every Saturday, right? But you had this one big Saturday and it brought a huge return. And same thing with, I would say with pretty much anything, it's being consistent, right? Opportunity lands on those that are consistent. And I think though, and I don't want to say those, but I think if with that mentality of like, well, some people are lucky, I think that I would be playing the victim if I said that.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think there are, especially in today's day and age where you have so much more access to hear about people who have extreme opportunities through just luck, right? Like somebody who wins the lotto or something like that, or inherits something crazy and ends up being worth a bunch of money. You hear those things, but in the reality, like if you look around just the people that that are very, very successful, almost none of them got there by not working really hard. Right?
But the 5 laws of gold actually addresses that. And that's a terrible thing. Like landing upon major money.
Yeah.
I mean, could we go there for a little bit?
Just a second. Let's finish up the Meet the Goddess of Luck.
Well, like my guide this discussion. All right, we'll go finish your Goddess of Luck.
It's not my Goddess of Luck. It's the book review.
All right. prohibition in the book that I don't have. Anyways, all right. So what happened?
Wow, you're getting kind of pouty over there. I don't have your version of the book, so I don't want to
let's keep
talk
this
about
positive.
it.
All right. So what happened with the goddess of luck here?
Okay, so just a couple of quick quotes from that section. One is, it says this: "She's a goddess of love and dignity, whose pleasure it is to aid those who are in need and to reward those who are deserving. I look to find her not at the gambling tables or the races where men lose more gold than they win, but in other places where the doings of men are more worthwhile and more worthy of reward. In tilling the soil, in honest trading, in all man's occupations, there's an opportunity to make profit."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's good, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing if it's good, honest, worthy work. I like kind of that terminology there. Like, it's worthy work that opportunities come.
But do you think, okay, let me throw this out there. Do you think there's a fine line though, between like, hey, as long as you keep working hard, things are going to happen, or you may keep working hard, but you may be working hard at the wrong thing?
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. And I think that's kind of one of the things they talked about here is it's not always the case, but it's almost like the odds are switched. So in gambling, the odds are in the house's favor. In hard work, the odds are in your favor, right? So is it possible that you come out below multiple times? Sure. But if you're continuing to pursue things and look for opportunities in the long term, most people doing this are going to be successful, right? Like, so it's the odds are switched. So instead of the 1 in 1,000 being super successful through gambling, it's 1 in 1,000 not being successful through hard work.
I get it. I just think one of the bigger pieces there that I think should be also be applied is the idea of being self-aware, like understanding, it's all the time, when we were teachers, right? We get all the time, my child for 8 hours worked hard on this project and they still got a B. Well, it's because they did B level work.
Right.
Right. And you have this one individual who spent an hour and knocked it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the reality is that person that knocked it out of the park played to their strengths.
Right.
Like they understood who they were. They understood, what they needed to do. And it wasn't that difficult for them.
Yeah. The task aligned with their strengths.
Correct. Right. And that other person, it didn't. And there may be a sense of entitlement. So that's something you got to be aware about, is that I know it, and maybe you might disagree with me, but I think just working hard isn't enough. I think strategically understanding what you're good at will land you those opportunities. Right. I'll give you an example. I mean, there's times that I find in my own reselling world that my strengths are definitely more in the eBay world, more in the vintage items world, and that where with Amazon, I guess I don't have that. I hate saying this. I guess I don't have that entrepreneurial back against the wall. I'm willing to risk $5,000 just to make, a few dollars an item kind of mindset to be able to scale. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be slow and steady and slowly build that wealth, just because that's how I function. Right. So I'm very self-aware. So I'm able to achieve success reselling because I'm able to understand, okay, these are my strengths, these are not my strengths. And whenever I try to be like somebody else, I end up working hard and not getting very far.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I think you hit the nail on the head there, that it's, I guess, just to clarify, when we just say hard work, it's not like just go out and move rocks for no reason, right? Like it's not just hard labor. It's be smart, right? Like use the strengths that you have and be wise with the decisions you're making. But if you're sitting on the couch complaining that you're not successful, you only have yourself to blame. If you're out there working really hard day in and day out for years, you're going to look back and say, look at where I've come.
Your chances are already more likely you're going to be successful.
No, well,
right?
That's the whole point, is it's the opportunities. Like I love the memes where you see, or the pictures where it's like somebody standing at the top of the mountain and people like cheering them. And then the road to the mountain is like, like sharp sticks the whole way, and they're barefoot walking up. And it's like, people don't see the hard work that it often takes to get to the top, So I think that's a lot of what was saying here. And then it gives several examples of, one of the key things it says is act quickly. And it gives some examples of people who had opportunity come to them, but were delayed taking that opportunity and missed it. Right. So then one example it gives is there was a person that had sheep outside the city. They had too many of them. They had like some emergency came up, and the opportunity was, hey, I'll sell you all of my sheep for like an eighth of what they're worth, or I'll give them basically to you for free. Like it's still going to cost you money, but I've got to go and I can't take care of them. And the person thought about it and said, let me think about it and wait till the morning. The doors open up in the morning. They did the research. They said, this is worth it. I'm going to go buy these sheep. By the time they go back, the person sold the sheep to somebody else and it was too late. Right. And so kind of the idea was luck in some ways is opportunity that comes that you have to be willing to act on when it's there. Because if you don't, then you're going to be looking back and say, I missed my opportunity.
No, I agree. But yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm just thinking about, now that I'm in, I hate saying that, I've only been 40 for like over a week, but I think about a life where, how many times did an opportunity occur, right? And I didn't walk through that door, or I didn't contact that person, or I didn't, make that investment. It is tough though. I mean, it's one of those, we'll talk about it with the 5 laws of gold. Like, who do you trust?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know? Like, if it's an area you have no background knowledge on, then, I would say the richest man in Babylon's very much against it.
Yep.
Right. So you got to measure that out for yourself. I would say you got to be ready to strike when the time. I mean, we know that in our own businesses, right? How many times have we just made a major purchase and it turned out really well, right? But I think that happens more than less if you're consistently out there doing stuff, which goes full circle to what we started the conversation with.